Let's start off in the NFL. Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin was on HBO's Any Given Wednesday and said an NFL owner has told his team they are not allowed to protest the national anthem. Baldwin added specifically regarding the national anthem and the protest, the one quote that I was informed of was, "You're going to stand on the line with your hands on your heart and you're going to sing the national anthem because this is my stage." Shannon, what's your reaction?
It sounds like we might know who that owner is, but because he didn't put his name behind it, or the Doug Baldwin didn't say who it was, I'm gonna leave that for the fans to speculate. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Am I disappointed? Yes. Because, Skip, what I'm having a hard time coming to grips with, people will fight so vigorously to preserve democracy. Some will spend large amounts of money to preserve democracy. But the very people that fight so vigorously and spend so much money to preserve democracy do not want you to practice it. You see, in our country, we have something that's called the Constitution. And in the First Amendment, it says the right of freedom of speech, assembly. So if I agree with you, Skip, you can say what you like, what you want to say. If I agree with your gesture, your expression, I'm good. But because this is uncomfortable to some, they have a problem with it. So this is what I want to ask the owners and all the people that's made an issue. You made it about the flag, you made it about the anthem, you made it about the vets. So I'm thinking about asking all the blacks through the various forms, be it basketball, football, or whatever, all the minorities that's taken a knee or sat down or raised a fist. I'm thinking about asking them, Skip, when the national anthem comes on, to put their left hand over their heart and stand at attention. And then come Monday, can we have this conversation? Can we have the conversation that led to the raised fist, to the kneeling during the anthem? Because if we can't, now you're telling me it was really never about the anthem. It was really never about the military or the vets. You never wanted to have this conversation anyway, and you were hoping that it would go away. Because, see, at the end of the day, the people that saying, or the owner that said this, or the owners that said this, they have the power to actually help do something about this. But the status quo to them, they're not affected by this. And Skip, and the likelihood of me having a very negative encounter where I were to lose my life, or I'm not in a situation where I'm well off, I do okay. But for me to sit back and assume and like turn a blind eye, like, well, it's not me. I made it out. Everybody else can make it out. That is a shallow, that is a naive way of thinking. Because I did good, it's okay for those to struggle and those that do not have a voice not to be heard. Man, I am so disappointed that an owner with so much power would use that power to suppress someone else's ability to take a stand and says, look, this isn't right. I'm playing in the National Football League. I'm making a lot of money, and that's great. But I see what's happening in my communities, and that's not right. Instead of you suppressing, how about you? Oh, see, I get it. Now I'm starting to see what it is. You don't mind if he help you win ball games, but whatever he has going on in his life or in his community, that doesn't concern you, because that's not going to win you a game. That's not going to win you a championship. And it's probably going to get your sponsors like, you know, we probably need to step back from you. The status quo is fine as long as it doesn't bother me. That's the way he's thinking.
You're swimming in some deeper and deeper water, and I love it. That's why I love doing this show with you. But before I comment on the many points you just made, I want to be very clear about something. I told you on our kickoff show on this network that while I didn't initially love that Colin Kaepernick chose to protest by sitting or kneeling for the national anthem. I embrace his message.
Right.
And I have driven home his message, which he has eloquently stated again and again after football games. I have driven home that message for the past 3 years on the past show that I did for ESPN, because this country, we all agree, at least we agree here on this desk, has an incomprehensible and mounting problem that's the crux of this argument and this issue, which is that way too many defenseless black men have been killed by white cops. It's a staggering issue. I just got chills when I said it again, because people of all color need to stand up and scream to the mountaintops and stomp their feet until somehow, some way we address this problem and correct this problem. I don't know if it's correctable, but at least we fix it as best we can as a society and a country. So I think there are a whole lot of white people out there who believe in that message and what I just said. I don't know that. That's unscientific on my part. Maybe I can only speak from my own heart, but I am so with Colin Kaepernick in that regard. But let's get back to your First Amendment. I do believe in that First Amendment, and everybody has a right under that First Amendment to do whatever he or she chooses to do or to say. And the flashpoint, we just have, this is anonymous now, we have one unnamed owner. You can speculate. I can speculate there are more than one.
Oh, absolutely. Skip.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the flashpoint operative word is stage. This is my stage, and I'm going to paraphrase the rest of the quote, from the owner through his head. I bought this stage. I run this stage. I pay you to play on this stage. I operate the business upon which this stage rests. And if I tell you to stand at attention and put your right hand over your heart, that's what you will do as my employee. Now, that comes off pretty harsh, and you might interpret that as the old plantation mentality.
I absolutely did.
I got it. But that is his right as an American just to express that. And here's the one place where, even though I want to be clear, I'm on Colin's side, I'm on your side here, but I also trust in what our President Barack Obama said recently. Each side has to keep its ears open and listen to the other side. It's possible that that unnamed owner, I wish we knew who it was so we could ask him, but it's possible that he's just purely basing his emotions on patriotism. It's possible he's basing them on capitalism, as you point out. Maybe his sponsors are beginning to pressure him and say, we're going to pull our ads, man. We just can't take the beating, because we, in our constituency, all of the people who buy our product, we're starting to get letters. We're starting to get a lot of anger, and we're starting to get pullback here. Whew. So maybe that's what's happening. That's what happened. We can talk about the East Carolina band situation, but the radio station, the owner finally stated publicly, I polled all my sponsors, and they all said, we don't like this. We're about to pull out. And so the owner of the radio station said, then I'm out. I drop you. I don't want your games on my station anymore because you're hurting my business. Okay, so is it possible, though, you want to leap to the conclusion every time that patriotism is actually racism cloaked as patriotism, right? You've said that before.
In some situations, it absolutely is.
Sometimes I agree with you, it is. But because we don't know who the owner is, unnamed, I don't know for sure. It's possible that he's just a zealous patriot, in that any disrespect of our flag will prompt him to say, this is my stage and that's our flag, and you can't disrespect the flag. But it might not mean that he doesn't agree with Colin Kaepernick's message. He might, and yet he might be saying, I need you to protest that anywhere but there at that moment during the national anthem. Like you can protest, you can stand up in the locker room and you can speak to the media, or you can have your own stage wherever you choose to have it. Do you see what I mean? It's possible. I'm just trying to keep this balanced.
I do.
Okay.
So can I say, well, I'm just going to watch film while I'm here at work. I'm not going to watch film at home.
That's up to you.
See, you see what I'm saying? Because if he said you can protest anywhere but here, well, how about I only watch film?
But you might be cutting off nose to spite face, because you might be hurting your your ability to perform your job and make more money, right?
But here's the thing, Skip, is that and look, I don't know how, because I'm looking back. I don't know how, because here's the thing. This is how I am, Skip. I am a rule follower. And if I'm supposed to be somewhere, if I'm supposed to do something, this is what I'm supposed to do. But this is how I've always been from the time I was a little bitty boy. When you tell me do this or else, I'm always going to choose else. That's just the way I am.
Yep.
So I would like for you to do this, but when you try to tell me, because now I'm going back to what my grandmother and my grandfather has told me what used to happen. They were told what to do. They were told where to go. They were told where to sit. That flashpoint, that hasn't left me. I'm always going to be respectful of authority. And if you're my boss, but don't tell me do this or else, because I'm always going to choose else. And when you take this stand,
I got it.
I'm trying to make you uncomfortable, but I'm also willing to accept the consequences that comes along with my actions.
And there can be. Yes.
And that's the whole point. Because if you're not willing, if you're not willing to suffer the ultimate sacrifice, be it termination or death, then what are you doing?
Okay.
What are you doing? If it doesn't mean that much to you that you will risk termination or your life.
That's correct.